All right, and welcome back to Tuesday night and your favorite NFL talk show, Chalk Talk. We'll be bringing on Eric here in just a few minutes, but thank you guys for coming out and sharing your week with us. Uh, Lots of football to talk about this week. We'll be talking NFL tonight, but next week or tomorrow and Thursday we'll be talking college football. And there was some craziness in college football, but I'm going to be bringing on Eric, and we'll get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tuesday Night Chalk Talk, your favorite NFL football show, where even Stephen A. Smith comes to get his information because we know he's jealous of us. So, uh,
That was good.
thought I'm trying to give us some, give us some self awards here. What a week! What a week in football. We had some ups, we had some downs, we had some surprises. We have a team that is no longer technically going to lose all 17 games because they ended up with a tie. So good on the Lions. I know you traveled. We'll probably be a very quick episode tonight. I'm thinking because we both didn't catch up on much football this week. I'm still hungover from the OU loss, so guys, bear with. No, I'm kidding. Hey, it happens. Everybody wins, everybody loses. So,
Hey, I wanted to share something with you, Dash.
Okay.
So, as you know, I was in Colorado this weekend. I was blessed to officiate my niece and my new nephew's wedding. Just a huge blessing. And they presented me as a wedding gift. That's actually signed by Drew Brees.
That is signed by
blown away.
I love that helmet. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's their alternate one, and I don't know why I have like a fetish for football helmets, but Drew Brees, I mean,
yeah, you got the
that's
goat
a Hall
there.
of Fame quarterback. The honor of doing their wedding alone was just beautiful, but I was very thankful for that too. And by the way, congratulations to Ryan and Alexis Eanes out there in Colorado. Love you all.
Congrats on the wedding. Absolutely. Always fun. And I'm glad you got to officiate. That's a pretty good honor there. So congratulations for you as well.
Yeah, honor of a lifetime, absolutely. And that's a great family. So
that's awesome. Well, give them my congrats as well if they don't get to see this episode. But now that you're back and
yes, sir,
enjoying, we're getting ready to come up on Thanksgiving week. Another family fun-filled week. So we'll get to talk football for especially. As we know, Thanksgiving time is obviously some good football games on that day. Lions, Cowboys, and some other games. But this week, this past week, there's just a couple games I want to talk about. Obviously, I think the Cowboys and I think what we saw 2 weeks ago was with the Falcons were actually everybody was hyping them up and everybody was down on the Cowboys, and I think we actually saw the real Cowboys and the real Falcons. I want to say. My question to you, I don't know if you got to see this game. The Falcons with a minute left to go, literally like a minute and 8 seconds left to go in the half, get the ball back. Dallas scored. It was 28-3. We all know what 28-3 means to the Falcons. If you don't, go watch a certain past Super Bowl, you'll understand. But 28-3, Falcons have the ball. Why do you not just down the ball? Why do you not go in? I get it. You're trying to get scores, but it's a minute left. Just down the ball. That cost them a costly block punt and led to another score.
Yeah, that coaching staff made a number of errors in that game, but that one, at the end of a half, when you're down that much, you just take your shots, you down the ball, you run the clock out, you go in, and everybody knows you can regroup at halftime. Heck, if you can win being down 28-3 in the fourth quarter, late in the second half at least, you can surely come back with a whole half of football left. But that's not the only mistake that they made.
Yeah,
You know, while the game was still early, late in the first quarter, they could have kicked a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 7. The other thing is they were running the ball pretty well against Dallas.
Yeah.
Completely lopsided game other than the run. Dallas only held the rushing edge by like 11 yards. You know, so Atlanta was running the ball. Now Patterson got hurt. Cordell Patterson, he got hurt in that game. So, yeah, I get that. But, you know, you were against a very tough rushing D. You were running the ball well. That's another decision that I don't understand. You know, work with what's well. We've been saying that all year. Work with what's going well. And, you know, that's in my opinion, 3 bad decisions.
I mean,
to get the game. Now, Cowboys were going to beat the brakes off them no matter what. But at least the Falcons could have made it, you know, somewhat more entertaining.
I agree. They were running the screen very well against Dallas, and they were definitely running. I mean, literally, they could run up the middle on them all they wanted.
Right.
We've talked about this. The teams continuously go away. I've seen it all year long where they're going away from what's working for them. Yeah, I mean, you went for it on 4th and 7. You didn't. You know, it's a different story if you kick that field. I think it's a different story if you kick that field. I'm not saying, like you said, they're going to beat the brakes off of them, but it's a different story. You're not back broken and you're not making horrendous calls. But I just feel like from get-go, you know, Dallas scored relatively quick on that first drive, and I feel like after that 4th and 7, it just like they didn't feel like they wanted to be there, and even with running, I felt like they didn't want to be there. You know, Matty Ice is just, you know, throwing. I mean, just interception king this year. I think as far as just making mistake after mistake after, and they were doing. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Atlanta. They were on a 4-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken. I think they won their last 4 out of 5. So they were definitely on an uptick. Hell, they were even the 7th. They were in the 7th seed, so they were making a shot for the playoffs. But you're right. There was coaching mistake after coaching mistake after coaching mistake in that game. And I don't ever think I've ever seen anything that bad besides obviously the Browns and the Patriots, but I digress on that one.
Yeah. Look, you know, I'm not too proud to say this. You know, I called this last week. You know, Dallas just had a down day, and it happened to match up well, but they were going to come back. And unfortunately for Atlanta, they just happen to be the whooping boys in their way. There was no way Dallas was going to lose this game. Coach McCarthy came in with an aggressive mindset to attack what the Falcons are weak in, and they took advantage of it. Got Michael Gallup back, and you know, the Atlanta really only has one good defensive back, and he's a rookie right now. And getting Gallup back, though he only had 42 yards reception, that still takes away a top tier defender. And the Cowboys spread the ball among 10 different players catching the ball. So no matter which way Atlanta looked, left or right, they weren't going to be able to catch up. And then you talk about the block punt, that sequence of events right there that led to the block punt in the end zone. And then right after that, the 12 men on the field for the Falcons. Well, McCarthy's like, you know what? It's time to go for 2 instead of the extra point. So they had that foot on the gas mindset. You know, we're just gonna go all out, and that it just so happens that at the end of the half, that 8 points that led to their most points in one single quarter in the second quarter in franchise history, and their most points in the first, their largest lead in the first half since before I was born.
50 or
70, 71?
70, 71, 72, something like that. Both of them had set records for largest deficit and large, you know.
Yeah. But that's the mentality that Coach McCarthy brought to the game. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball. Well, Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn obviously just let go by Atlanta. You know, last year after 5 games of just terrible Atlanta football, they were motivated to help out their coach. And he obviously knows some tendencies, some habits, best practices against, you know, very efficient Matt Ryan. So don't think that Dan Quinn didn't bring knowledge to the table.
If you're a coach, do you? I mean, we all know what coach speak is. They're going to ask you, hey, are you feeling? Do you have anything against Atlanta? And coach speak is going to be, no, I'm working on the game plan. But let's. I mean, realistically, he wanted to decimate the Falcons. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, we're competitors. We're all athletes. We know exactly what that alpha dog mentality is. Go for the throat. Yeah, absolutely. He had some success in Atlanta, obviously. Mm-hmm. But get let go after just 5 games, and maybe the team not responding. That player coach relationship probably kind of started to separate. And and if he didn't let his players on the Dallas bench know that, I'd be willing to bet at least within the locker room they were like, yeah, we're not going to let Atlanta come in here and then let their offense show up Dan Quinn's defense. No, sir. They held him to a season low in all offensive passing categories.
Yeah.
And Matt Ryan just played the number 5 defense in the NFL, and the Saints, I think there were 5, don't quote me on that, but they were, against the pass, they were definitely doing well, that Saints defense. And Matt Ryan just mowed through the Saints last week. But totally different story this week.
Does that break their back? Does that set them back? Especially going on a 4-game win streak to a whooping like that. Does that set them back?
It really does. Carolina winning, that now puts them in the 7th seed. That NFC South is super competitive right now. They're still playing each other. They're all playing each other very well, while Tampa's somewhat struggling. New Orleans, super, amount of injuries. So I wouldn't. Yes, it knocks them back a couple notches. It definitely puts them on they're going to have to put their foot on the gas during the second half of the season. So they are down, but not out.
Yeah. All right. Let's. I mean, still, Diggs is on pace for 14. I mean, I think he can get. I think he can get 14. I mean, he's obviously got the most interceptions in Dallas history right now, at least for the he's got 8 in the last 15 years, the most any defensive back or anybody on the defense has had 6. So he's already at 8. I think he breaks the record. I think he gets at least 14. He's just, and it's, he gets beat a lot. And if you're a Dallas fan, you know this. I don't want to hear anything. Yeah, he gets beat quite a bit. But when he's in the right spot, he's in the right spot, and that's what also makes him good. But I mean, even the best get beat. Even the best get beat on defense every once in a while. So,
yeah.
Let's talk about last night's game, Monday Night Football. Rams 49ers. I'm just gonna start off with is Stafford reverting back to Detroit days? I mean, this is the second game in a row just throwing crap. I'm just gonna say throwing crap out there.
No, I don't think this is Stafford reverting back. If you take a look at his 12 years in Detroit, and then you look at the one season, here, his offensive numbers are better in every single category. The one category that's not is in the interceptions. In 12 years in Detroit, he was averaging about, it's like one interception. It's like 2.3%. Yeah. This year it's 2.2%. So it's relatively close. So what does that tell me? It tells me, he throws interceptions. So if I'm weighing that versus the benefits, well, the difference between his days in Detroit and now in Los Angeles, number one, Los Angeles wants to win, and they're going to do whatever they can. So the mentality to win is there. Support at the higher level of organization is there. I personally did never feel that in Detroit. They just wanted to field the team, maybe make the playoffs, maybe make the fans a little happy. It's kind of how I felt, in New Orleans and most of my childhood. So that's the difference in Los Angeles is they're providing Stafford with the tools. Now, Stafford to me is a better quarterback than Jared Goff. You can take Matt Stafford and rely on the pass more than the run to set up the pass. but Matt Stafford is going to make, some mistakes in his, throughout the game. And I get that. But let's also, I know this has been a super big pet peeve, but if you look at last night's game, one of those interceptions I can't even attribute to Matt Stafford.
No, you cannot.
Also, Cooper Kupp, he's best wide receiver in the league, in terms of numbers, but he's also like top listing for wide receivers that are dropping passes. Yeah, he's got a lot of targets, but the point is not all of this is Matt Stafford's fault. Yeah, he's thrown 2 picks. That one he did where he was in the end zone and he flung around and just launched it last week. Yeah, that was absolute. I don't even know what that.
Yeah.
Most common sense tells you take the safety, get 2 points instead of the pick 6, but I don't know. I don't think he's reverting back to his Lions days.
I agree with you. I mean, I see what I see. I see on social media. I see sports talk and listening to, and I'm just like, no, I don't agree that he's reverting back. Again, like you said, last night he's had thrown some crap, but last night that literally, you're absolutely correct. It was not his fault. And that brings me to, instead of going after OBJ, they should have went after a run, because he does need some run. He needs some run support. He really he needs run support bad. And yeah, they got running backs, but it's not. They need something that will give them for him to open that pass, because they are pass happy, and we know it. We talked about it for the last 8 weeks that we've been doing this. They're pass happy, and I get it, but at some point you need a running game to alleviate that, so you can set up those passes again where they're not looking for it. Because I feel like now they're just like, I'm looking for this pass. And speaking of OBJ, I feel like on the first pass that he went out for, he just gave up. I don't want to talk bad about the guy, because if you're in the pros, you're there for a reason. And I don't like talking bad about anybody anyways, but at some point you have to look yourself in the mirror and go, maybe I am the problem.
Yeah, he was out. He was on the field only for 25% of the snaps. I grant a part of that's due to, he needs to get acclimated a little bit, understand. They threw him a bone first pass, first offensive play was a pass to him. There's your 5-6 yards. Matt Stafford saying, "Hey, buddy, welcome to the team. I got your back." But then after that, I don't know if it was scheme or if it was, what was going on with communication. Maybe he just didn't feel comfortable. Maybe he was a little intimidated. Cooper Kupp's the #1 guy in the NFL, and then now I'm replacing Woods. Who was, stud wide receiver, and then this is a power, fast offense. And I'm used to a balanced offense and a terrible offense in New York. What do I do? So, but I agree. They didn't really need OBJ. They definitely need some offensive help.
Yeah,
to me, this whole game was just about coaching. And I just think that Coach McVay had a terrible night.
Yeah, he got out. I feel like he got way out.
Cadillac. Absolutely. Yep. Mike Shanahan, or Coach Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, he wanted to run the ball and he wanted to eat up the clock. Well, guess what he did? 44 times and held the ball for over 39 minutes. That's a crazy stat. Managed Garoppolo. It was like 2.3 seconds per throw. Yeah. That's exactly what you need to protect your quarterback, is just run those plays and then set up your run. And, that's exactly what they did. But then on the other hand, you bring up they need rushing help. The Rams do. Well, they only ran the ball 9 times last night. But in those 9 times, Henderson, before he got hurt, was averaging 6 yards a carry. And Sonny Michel himself was averaging 5 yards a carry. So we just talked about a second ago, go back to what is working, And so what is a gunslinger like the Matt Staffords, the Baker Mayfields? What are these guys going to do when they're down by 2 and 3 scores and they're expected to win by 3 and 4 scores? Well, they're going to light it up. And what are they going to do? They're going to make more mistakes.
Yep.
I just think that's all natural, you know, when you're trying to put the game on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So this to me was just all about coaching. On the defensive side of the ball for the Rams, defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, you got a $25 million defensive back, and you don't put him up against Deebo Samuel or Kittle in situations where you know the pass-catching tight end is probably going to get it. No, Deebo Samuel went all over. He had his own night. And Jalen Ramsey, we weren't talking about him at all because he was never matched up against the right guy.
Not at all.
It was just terrible coaching by the Rams. And quite frankly, they deserve to lose this game.
Yeah, and then Kittle putting Vaughn on his butt. I don't know if you get it, if you haven't seen it, go watch the replay. I mean, Kittle just plowed him, and it was. I like Von Miller. Don't get me wrong, but
I love him. Good guy.
Yeah, good guy. But man, he got obliterated. So I did not see that score. I did not see that at all. I mean, I could have gone either way with the game as far as who was going to win, but not the 49ers holding on to that ball and eating clock like that. I just not at all would have seen that. And again, I'm not like the hugest Jimmy G fan. You guys know that if you've been watching any of these shows. I mean. If you're just going to hand the ball off, you know you're doing it, and that's how you get Jimmy G to be a winner, I guess. I'm not a big Jimmy G because he'd rather be in Hollywood than on the field, is my opinion. But that's just Dash's opinion.
But you're right. Yeah, he got the win, but I mean, 49ers only averaged 3.5 yards a carry.
Yeah,
that's it. We don't prop those numbers up too high anymore. No. The point to that is those runs were at effective times, the most opportune, most effective, and eventually you just wear a team down by just constantly running down the throat. And that's where you got to give credit to the 49ers, just ran it down their throat. And these teams that are used to scoring, in a minute and a half, 2 minutes, like, the Rams are capable of doing, those teams don't like sitting on the bench for a while. It interrupts a rhythm. They like to be out there, boom, let's go. And then the defense can pin its ears back because they know the offense is going to go at it. So, when the 49ers came in with that game plan that Shanahan put up, that went right in the gut of what the Rams wanted to do, and it worked out well. And then the Rams didn't adjust very well. So I think this game is coaching.
I figured at halftime, at least something, and they came back out, and I'm just like, you guys are doing the same thing. Did you make any adjustments at all? I mean, like I said, it's easy for us to sit here and critique and things like that, and I get it. But, I mean, even moving, like we talked about, get the right people on the right people, and you're going to make at least a little bit of difference. I mean, we're seeing what. We'll talk about it here for a second, and we won't go too much into the game. Let's just talk about the Washington football team against Tampa Bay. Washington was making and winning, but they made more adjustments against what Tampa Bay was running, and they ended up winning that game, even, and holding on to the lead and winning. Yeah. So that is, and to me, that's what I'm looking at when I want to see halftime adjustments. And Washington, that game plan just blew me away. You guys will never ever hear me say this other than this show right here, this one time. I was kind of proud of Washington for doing what they did against the Bucs.
Yeah, it seemed like a gargantuan effort, right? David versus Goliath, kind of thing. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers coming in off of a bye week and, completely refreshed and ready to go. And you got to give credit to the front four of the Washington football team. They made Tom Brady look very uncomfortable. It seemed to me, especially in the early going. Got him out of that rhythm. Now, you're not going to keep Tom Brady down for long, right? So, sure enough, he gets his 2 touchdowns, and they get to within 4. Well, then what does Washington do? They come right back with like a 10-minute drive and pretty much cap off the game. And they did that by making those adjustments, by understanding what they needed to do to win the football game, not just not lose. And, the play calling in that last drive, the execution, that was all brilliant. And they, eat up. Yes, you go up by 2 scores, but then there's no way you can give to Tom Brady. Eventually doesn't have enough time on the clock. And, Washington executed based off of the adjustments. You're absolutely right. I was real proud of them too. And of course, being a Saints fan, it's always good when the Buccaneers lose.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm rooting for anybody and everybody to beat everybody, the Giants, Eagles, and Washington. But like I said, I mean, you won't get a whole lot of appraisal out of me from on the other teams. But they're good. But that's what I'm getting at. That is what good adjustments. Oh, crap. We got to fit, So how do I beat Tom Brady? I hold on to the ball for 10 minutes. That's how you beat Tom Brady. That's how you beat good quarterbacks. And that brings me to my question.
Yep.
That's what is wrong with the Bucs right now? I mean, and is it there's some infighting, I think, or something's going on. They don't look comfortable even though they've got a great record, they're still winning. Something is going on that sideline, and it's obvious. When even your coach comes out and says, "Yeah, hell, that's all Tom Brady's fault." Shit, that ain't my fault. That's Tom Brady's fault.
Yeah.
Is the honeymoon over?
Yeah. I don't know. It is interesting when your head football coach goes out and says, "Yeah, we're a dumb football team." It's not a talent problem. It's between the ears. We're not using our brains. Coach Arians is known for that kind of, mentality. So he didn't say anything from what I can see out of character from, what Bruce Arians is. And they did have the players did kind of have a team meeting yesterday to kind of rally around. Yeah, they've lost 2 straight. Tom Brady, he's not Tom Brady-esque in the last couple of games. 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's not the ratio that we're used to seeing him get. And then what you tend to see this time of year, with a guy like Tom Brady, he's getting older, and so we start to see, is the Tom Brady team done? Is he getting tired? What's going to happen? And then they end up being in the mix towards the end of the season. So, yeah, they definitely have some, they got some injuries on the offensive side of the ball that are not allowing Tampa Bay to create the mismatches that they like to create, where you would have to put a safety over Gronkowski, or, you'd have to put a linebacker that's not as fast or not as durable on Gronk. They don't have the ability to do that right now. So, the other defenders on the team are able to go after, Godwin and Evans and really put the best players on them and double up on those guys. And, Cameron Brate just isn't performing as a tight end like, he doesn't have the confidence in Tom Brady. So they have some scheme problems on the offensive side of the ball to injuries. Coach Arians said they didn't have the COVID bug last year, so they didn't have to worry about injuries like the rest of the league did, and they said that was an advantage. That's kind of biting them in the tail right now on the offensive side of the ball. You switch over to the defense, their secondary has always been terrible. And, the teams that are beating them are exploiting that very aspect.
Yeah.
And, so I don't think it's over for them. The last 3 Super Bowl teams, all 3 had, portions where they lost back-to-back games and still won the Super Bowl. So the only thing, to be concerned about is, they did come off a bye week. So, and they got their tails handed to them by New Orleans before the break.
Yeah. So
you would think they would have come out ready, and they just kind of came out flat.
They came out way flat. And like I said, kudos to the Washington football team, guys, I'm 48. I'm still going to be calling them the Redskins probably for a good couple more years. So that was pretty much it for the week. There wasn't a whole, wasn't a whole lot of of things that I noticed wrong that, like, obviously there was no, I didn't see anything on the officiating for me to complain about again for another week. But the one I was surprised at,
Yeah, me neither.
and I don't even know how to begin. I mean, obviously Mason Rudolph is not the answer in Pittsburgh. Let's just leave that there as it is. Goff had a chance to win it a couple of times and win it in a good fashion. But kudos to them to getting the tie and not going 0-17. What's got to change as far as, I mean, we know, like we talked about it. We know Goff is probably there for a couple more years. What's got to change for them to have a winning attitude, though? I mean, they had the killer. They could have. I don't even know if they used the killer instinct in there. Yeah, granted, 16-16. If Roethlisberger's there, probably a different story. I'm guaranteeing it's probably a different story, and it's not even a tie. Because Mason Rudolph's not the answer there. What does Detroit need to do? I mean, seriously, what do they need to do to get that winning attitude again?
Well, I've maintained this for several years. That's at the highest levels of the ownership mentality. You know, I just don't know that the Ford family, you know, owner of I just don't know that they want to win in Detroit. That's always been my perception. They're not willing to, you know, spit out the money for the big contracts to bring in the high value players. So I think that's part of it. And then because that's part of it, then your next option is what? Well, it's the Moneyball theory. You know, just go out. Okay, if you can tackle at the highest rate, then I'm going to put you in. You may not be the fastest, but you're the best tackler. Okay, well, I need to stop the run. Let me get you in there. You know, you may save me $7 million a year, but you know, I'm going to get 2 or 3 more guys with that extra money that are just like you. You know, so then you end up with the Moneyball theory. Well, in the NFL, because parity is such a big thing, the Moneyball theory isn't always the easiest route to go, because then you have injuries, and then you have teams like the Patriots, like nowadays the Chiefs. You know, these teams that are perpetually in it. The Coach McVays and the Rams, you know, who are just sucking up everybody to win now and forgetting about their future. You know, it makes the Moneyball theory a lot harder. I personally don't think it works in the NFL, though it can. Don't get me wrong. You know, small market teams have done it. So if you're going to go with the Moneyball theory, then you have to have a lot smarter front office, and I just don't know that the Lions do. I'm not saying they don't. Right. I just don't know. So I think it's all at the top level. I will say I think bringing on Coach Campbell, I think that's a winning guy. He knows character. I just think he has to continue to bring in those players. He needs to draft the right players. And it gets into the scouting realm. You know, you got to bring on the player scouts that are going to look for those gems.
Yeah. I just don't know if anybody wants to play in Detroit. That's the biggest thing for me.
Because there's no winning attitude.
Yeah, I just no. I mean, I like and you know, growing up, you know, every Thursday for Thanksgiving, it was Cowboys and Lions playing somebody. And I just, you know, and I guess it's probably more of a nostalgia feeling of wanting them to win and at least be competitive. And I just feel like they'll get somebody, and don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, you know, they got Campbell now, but if he doesn't win in 2 years, they're going to get rid of him. I liken it to, and my Longhorn fans are going to get mad at me, but I'm likening it to the Longhorns right now, where they'll go get somebody for 3 years, and if they're not national championship in 3 years, they're firing the coach, and you just can't do that.
Yeah,
you got to give them time to build up. I don't know, man. I want the Lions to win. I guess probably, like I said, nostalgia. And
yeah, me too.
Probably a little bit of, you know, and you never want to see a team go lose it all. So I'm hoping they can maybe make some change. Me personally, I just don't I know like we said, we talked about it. We think Goff's probably going to be there a couple years. I as I continue watching this guy, I mean, he has no killer instinct at all. At all. He just doesn't know when to.
He's just a manager.
Yeah, he's just, yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's what we'll talk about this week. We'll get into our picks. I want to let you some rest after your long week and weekend of traveling, so we'll make this a relative. You had a rough week at 5-5, and the fans went 8-2. They made a jump on you. You were at 42-27. The fans are now at 40-30 with an 8-2 record this past week. But I will say, before we get in the games, the funniest thing I heard all weekend long, football-wise, in the NFL, is my wife. My wife is finally watching it. She wants to learn what we're talking about, and so she can, because she'll rewatch the show, so she wants to know what we're talking about. The Rob Gronkowski USAA commercial comes on, and she goes, "Babe."
Oh yeah.
She's like, "Babe, he needs to stick with football." I was like, "Yeah." His whole expression is just eyes wide and oh really? Yeah. She's like, "Babe, he needs to stick." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, he needs to stick with football and leave it alone." So that was the funniest.
I agree with your wife.
Yeah, it was the funniest thing I heard all week long. So or weekend long. All right, so we got some. There's not a whole lot of great matchups this week. There are two, to me, that are very intriguing. But we'll get to it here in a second. The first up, we obviously have the Ravens versus the Bears. Ravens versus the Bears.
Well, I mean, conventional wisdom would say Baltimore, but I picked them last week to beat the Dolphins, and look at where we ended up.
Yeah, we have it.
So, is this game in Chicago, right?
This game is in Chicago, and they're playing relatively decent now. I'm not saying they're going to go out and be
yeah, they are
contenders, but they're playing decent.
They're playing inspired ball for sure. They want to win. They're just not talented enough. So you're getting into scheme and then coaching. And, if I'm thinking from those aspects, well, I would take Coach Harbaugh over Coach Nagy any day of the week. And I'd take Lamar Jackson over Justin Fields any day of the week. So I'm going to go with Baltimore.
All right. We are all in agreement, fans and us. But, I mean, it just breaks it down to what we've been talking about. Who the hell wants, other than the Titans, who the hell wants to win the AFC? I don't know.
Even the NFC is starting to get the COVID crud.
Yeah.
Give it to me. Who wants me to win now? It's crazy. I was, for the second week in a row in my football pool, I had a less than 500 record. I'm usually pretty decent with the picks, but I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm just going to chalk it up to 2021, and then next year, the world will right itself, and we will actually probably have better records. This is one of the intriguing matchups for me. Colts versus the Bills.
Yeah, the Colts are a scrappy team, man. They're not going to win the division just because Tennessee is so resilient and so determined. But you're right, they're a scrappy team. And, 1 minute they're holding on tight to the Titans, and the next minute it's a close game against the Jaguars towards the end of the game. The Bills, on the other hand, well, they should be the strongest team in the league, but then they let the Jaguars beat them. So you have the Colts and the Bills that both played the Jaguars pretty tough, or that the Jaguars played pretty tough.
Yeah.
And so I just got to go with talent, conventional wisdom. I got to take the Bills.
All right, I am with you on that one, the Bills as well. They had a great rebound with this game this past week with the Bills. Just they looked fantastic against the Jets, and then made White. Here White said I should have been number 1 draft pick, and then the next week he looks like he's where he should have been drafted. So yeah, I'm going with the Bills. I still hold true to the fact that the Bills will probably be the AFC Super Bowl representative this year. I still hold to it. I know Titans are playing good ball, but I think if it comes down to Titans Bills got it. let's talk about
I
some teams that need a win, and that's the Lions and the Browns. We are in Cleveland.
Yeah. Do we know the status of Baker Mayfield?
As far as I know, I haven't heard anything
He's
new.
still a go.
So,
I'm
I
taking Cleveland.
I would probably foresee Case Keenum playing in this game. I really do, just because I haven't had any updates. So I do foresee Case Keenum playing. But I just don't think the Lions can stop the run game in this. I mean, if all they do is hand to Chubb,
That's all they got to do.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. Case Keenum throwing a 3rd and 5, get the first down, and give the ball to Chubb for the next 2 times in the drive.
Yeah,
that's all they got to do. Yep.
Yeah, I'm taking the Browns for sure on this one. I just don't think the Lions can stop the run at all. You're taking the Browns?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Texans versus Titans. I think this one's a no-brainer. It's in Tennessee, and Texans just ain't got.
Yeah, there's just so much terribleness going on in Houston right now. Definitely Tennessee for me.
Yep. All right.
Of course, this is the game where they'll lose.
Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me at one bit. Saints versus Eagles. Eagles coming off a pretty good win over the Broncos. Saints.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, they miss. I'll think of his name here in a second.
Well, they miss Will Lutz. They miss Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, Kamara. Thank you. Kamara. I think if Kamara's back, that alleviates whoever's at quarterback. I mean, not that I dislike any of the quarterbacks there in the Saints, but I think he alleviates a lot of issues for whoever's quarterbacking at the time.
Yeah, and Kamara single-handedly erases special teams mistakes, like 2 missed point extra attempts, which ended up being really the difference in the game against Tennessee. Saints played scrappy football, and because of special teams, really kind of came out on the end. And when Kamara's in, he changes the dynamic on the offense, gives them a few more opportunities.
Yeah.
So with Kamara in, I think the Saints are always in it. But Philadelphia, to me, is just too, back and forth. They play fantastic one game, and then they play terrible the next. And the Saints are really balanced. They're really balanced. No matter who they have in their lineup, they're going to be prepared. And maybe they'll have a bad game, but they'll always make it interesting in the end. I'm taking New Orleans.
I am too. The fans agree. You and I agree on that one. I think this one is kind of a no-brainer as well. I just think the Raiders, obviously, everything that's happened to the Raiders has just destroyed their psyche, their mentality, everything. And I just and in that beating they took from Kansas City, Bengals versus the Raiders. I'm going Bengals. It's just I think they're the better team right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Cincinnati too. They've been embarrassed past couple games, and they need that go game, and they're coming off a bye week, so I think they beat the Raiders.
I agree. Next intriguing matchup for me. These teams used to, basically one the same team, just moved to Dallas and Kansas City, and now you got. But Cowboys and Chiefs looked Chiefs this weekend. But was that a fluke because it was the Raiders? And nothing against the Raiders, ladies and gentlemen. We just known the Chiefs have owned the Raiders for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
And they're always going to play the Raiders just like that. So, was that a fluke or the Chiefs back? What do you think?
Well, I've got a lot of thoughts on the Chiefs right now, but I will tell you, I think the matchup is prime for the Cowboys to have another 30-plus point. The Chiefs defense is the defense is playing inspired football right now. Absolutely. The Chiefs look like the Chiefs we've been accustomed to seeing. These past couple of weeks, they look like the team we've been accustomed to seeing the previous seasons, in their Super Bowl runs and stuff. And their defense is playing a lot better now. They played against the Packers without Aaron Rodgers, and then they played against the Raiders, who they just couldn't, for whatever reason, they couldn't make it competitive. So the Cowboys, that's the best scoring team in the NFL right now. And it'll be an interesting game to watch, but I think the Cowboys hang 30-plus on them and still and win.
I agree with you. The fans went with the Chiefs. But you and I are taking the Cowboys. Right now, like you said, when we talked about it earlier, until the only team that can beat the Cowboys is the Cowboys, which we witnessed against the Broncos. The Broncos were good, but the Cowboys defeated themselves by missing opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. So I agree with you. Until somebody can prove that they can beat the Cowboys straight up, because even the Bucks. If the Cowboys had a field goal kicker during that game, that's a whole different ball game. And the Broncos could be the only loss the Cowboys have. I get it, but Cardinal, what went on in Arizona? I don't know what's going on with Arizona. I mean, maybe just the COVID bug, but they got shelled this weekend. Shelled, and I mean. Shelled.
Yeah, I just think it was lack of preparation. It's the same team that played last week and beat the brakes off the 49ers. I mean, it's the same players. No DeAndre Hopkins, no Kyler Murray. Okay, so Case Keenum comes in and they hang 30 points, and then this week they come in and they throw duds. I just think it was preparation. I personally just chalk it up to what happened to the Cowboys, the week before. I don't think there was any, I don't think there's, anything specific. I just think it was a lack of preparation.
Yeah. And then Seahawks getting blanked by the Packers. They had multiple times to win that game or get back in that game. Russell Wilson, 2 interceptions in the end zone. On long, and I'm talking long drives. I'm talking really good, long, time-consuming drives, and you end up with interceptions. So Cardinals versus Seahawks, I'm taking the Cards still. I'm
taking the Cardinals too. I think Kyler Murray comes back, right?
Yeah, I believe he's back. I believe he's off protocol as well, and and nothing against Russell Wilson. I mean, for a hurt finger and coming back, he still looked fairly good. I'm not taking anything away from him. I just the Seahawks are breaking down from DK Metcalf throwing a fit and getting it's a whole team thing going on there in Seattle, and they're just not going to figure it out. These two teams, what I would have thought would have been really. Chargers are letting me down. And if Ben is out, I don't know how long his protocol has to last, because I believe it was the day before the game, so he may be out for this game due to COVID protocol. I just don't know. So, like I said, Chargers let me down the last couple of games, and then the Steelers, if Mason Rudolph's in there, I don't see how they can beat the Chargers.
Mason Rudolph is not beating the San Diego Chargers, but the good thing about that is the Chargers' run game is terrible, and you got Najee Harris on the other side.
Yeah.
You have a very well coached Steelers team that would just take the ball out of Mason Rudolph's hands and give it to Najee Harris and the rest of the offensive line. But I think the Chargers are a pretty good bounce back team. I think the Steelers are quiet. Both of these teams are in my top 10.
Yeah.
So It's tough, but I think I'm going to go with the Chargers.
All right, fans agree with us. And last but not least, Monday Night Football, Giants versus the Bucks.
You know, Tom Brady just loves the spotlight. There's no – I mean, you can't say it like that in 2021, but I'm just going to go with the Buccaneers.
Yeah. I don't think he loses on Monday Night Football.
No, sir.
Yeah, he does not lose on Monday Night Football. I agree with you. And the Giants, I mean, let's just be honest. The Giants are totally different than Washington. And Washington, we knew Washington was probably going to be a good football team this year. And you know, obviously some things went awry there in Washington, but New York is what it is. New York is New York. And I just don't think they have what it takes. So, yeah, there it is. All right, that's our picks for the week. Let you get some rest. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I've got our application ready for ESPN. Hopefully they'll let us know by next year that we're on. And, you know, if not, we're moving to the NFL Network. And if not there, we're creating our own NFL Network. And we'll figure something out.
I was going to say, doing it ourselves.
Yeah, we'll do it ourselves. But, again, I appreciate you coming on the show. You make this fun. You make it worth getting to talk about football. So I appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
All right. We'll decide if we want to do one next Tuesday or not. Let me know. You know, I know it's the holiday week. If you want to push one back, we can. If not, we'll figure something out.
No, football's still going. I say we need to keep going too.
Then I'm down.
I'm in.
All right, so we're there next Tuesday, guys. So thank you for coming out. What are you looking for this week?
Yeah, so I'm looking for two things. The Carolina Panthers bringing on Cam Newton. I want to see what that looks like. Carolina now owns the 7th seed, so they have that last playoff spot. So does Cam Newton provide that spark? Obviously, he's a fan favorite there. Yeah, he did score 2 touchdowns in the red zone, but are they going to use him more fully throughout the field? Because, they still have to play 100 yards of football, not 20.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to see what that looks like and then if they can carry it. And then the other thing, we just kind of talked about it. Chiefs look good the past couple of weeks, but they're playing all playoff caliber or playoff hunt teams from here on out. And they have the biggest test next week. So, we will know more if they're real next week than we have up to now. But, they're the first place in the AFC West. Do they retain it or do they revert back to the team we've been talking down to? Cowboys are for real, and Kansas City's going to prove it if they can beat the Cowboys. So that's what I'm looking for.
I agree. That's exactly the same thing. Like I said, the 2 games that I'm interested have a lot of playoff, a lot of implications on, where they go from here. We're getting there. We're almost halfway through, or we are halfway through the season now. So now we're getting ready to start making our playoff runs and things of that nature. And we talked about it, Brady. I'm looking to see how he bounces back after two devastating weeks. And does he step up and be Tom Brady and make that playoff run like he normally does at the end of the season? So that's kind of what I'm looking for as well. So yeah, we'll find out if the Cowboys are really for real.
Yep. And
if the Chiefs are really for real, and then these playoff teams that need to make their implications and start making their runs, we're going to start seeing it real soon here. So, especially in the AFC.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, they're 5-4, 5-5, 5-4.
Yeah.
They're all literally right there. And 2 weeks can change who's going to be going to the playoffs and who's sitting at home.
Yeah, you got that. You have that extra playoff spot now, and it's not going to be outside the ordinary for a team with a sub 500 record playing for a playoff spot. So it's going to get real exciting, folks. This is the second half of the NFL season is going to be one for the record books for sure.
We're gonna. I think we're going to see some really good teams, and we're going to see teams pull away. We're gonna see some teams pull away, and there's just going to be some left in the dirt. So, well, again, thanks for coming on. We will see you next Tuesday.
Hey, thank you.
All right, and get some rest, and congratulations, and send my congrats to your family as well.
Thank you very much. God bless everybody.
God bless you. All right, guys, have a good night. That was Chalk Talk. We will see you next Tuesday.